what's up. I want the win. You know the score. We up again. You had the lead. We cut it thin. Then we ran it up. Had to dig deep within. I don't play when it's game time. I won't let you come and take mine. The fruits of my labor gon' taste fine. Don't care what you heard from the grapevine. I zone out, then you gonna lose. There's really nothing you can do. Not at all. I get it, jumping kangaroos. Then serve you up like barbecue. I always win. No, that ain't news. I put in work. I pay my dues. I swim with sharks. You try to cruise. That's why you could never fit in my shoes. The whole thing, not a piece of the pie. I'm gonna ball for the whole game. I don't ever get tired. When the stakes high, you can see me putting work in till my team leaves. I'll be right there when they need me. Like.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Welcome to the Ball Dnt Lie podcast. This is your boy Dexter, your host, the one and only. Welcome back to another show. I hope y'all enjoying the whole NBA playoff situation. For the first time in a decade, LeBron James and Steph Curry will not be in the finals as far as one of those guys. So you got to tip your head off to LeBron James and Steph Curry. For the last decade, one of those two guys were actually in the NBA finals. A lot to do with it as far as with LeBron James himself. But hey, for the first time, we won't see LeBron James in the NBA finals actually making the postseason. So that's kind of crazy. And for the Laker fans out there, man, I'm enjoying this right now. You know, for you guys to lose and all that, even though y'all thought you was the better team, y'all just disrespected the Phoenix Suns. They deserve it. You got to tip your head off to D Book and company. The Phoenix Suns, they proved to be the second seed all year long. They deserve that series. Even though AD was hurt, I'm not sure why y'all decided to play AD in Game 6. But that just showed you right there that he wasn't even healthy with a groin injury. But I'm not gonna dive deep into that whole situation. The Phoenix Suns deserve it. Moving on now. And before we kind of get into this whole episode with the first game of the Nets and the Bucks, if you're new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and smash that like button and hit that bell notification. Every time I drop a new video, you will get a notification to your phones or to your laptops. And I appreciate all the love for the ones that have been watching and tuning in. I can't thank y'all enough. And we're on every single streaming platform out there. Every single one, literally. So you can catch us on any of the airways. If you can't catch us on YouTube or IGTV, we're on every single streaming platform out there you can think of. And before we kind of get into game one with the Bucks and the Nets, we have some breaking news for you. Minnesota Timberwolves' Michael Beasley turned himself in. As of yesterday, I believe, he was charged on 2 accounts. One for I guess he had a weapon and then a drug possession. That happened sometime recently in the last 6 months or 8 months, whatever it may be. And he pleaded guilty to one of those charges. So the DA in Minnesota decided to drop the drug charge. And now he's going to be doing 120 days in jail. So that's about, what, 4 months? 4 months he'd be doing it. So he will not be watching the NBA playoffs, you know, from his own comfort of his own home or where he may be at. He's going to be watching that in a jail cell. And if I was anybody in jail, my God, imagine you over here hooping inside a jail cell, and you think like, oh, I'm the guy. Michael Beasley just walks in. I'm pretty sure you're probably gonna shit your pants, right? I mean, I just hope the guy learns from his lesson. He's going through a lot of things, and then, like I said, I don't dive deep into people's personal lives outside of the court. But you gotta do your time, man. Even if you're an NBA player, the law, you're not above the law. I don't. So enough about that. Let's just go ahead and dive into this whole second round Bucks and Nets. This is one we've been actually dying to see. We wanted to see the Bucks and the Nets face off. And to me, I thought it was going to be a great game one. Then James Harden gets hurt. Like, as you can see right here, like James Harden is going to the basket, 40 seconds into the game or so, less than a minute, is going towards the basket, and literally pulls his right hamstring. Or he felt something on his right hamstring. And then immediately he was pulled from the game. And from my knowledge, from what I heard during the game, I'm not sure if I can confirm it, that he actually left the arena and went to go to a local hospital to do an MRI on his hamstring. So prayers up for James Harden. You know, for any great player out there, you know, we don't wish on players' downfalls as far as injuries. So I hope he gets better. You know, without James Harden, you know, it sucks to watch, you know, the Brooklyn Nets without the full force as far as the big three. But they got KD and they got Kyrie Irving, who pretty much put damage as far as points production. Both of them didn't really shoot that well in game one. The others kind of came and beat them. So I'll go ahead and break that down for you. And the crazy thing about this might go 6-7 games. Don't get it twisted. For the people out there who are rooting for the Bucks to fail or rooting for the Nets to win, to get to the NBA Finals, this is going to be a 6-game, 7-game slate. Okay, and the reason why I believe it to be that way, you can't allow the Nets to have people in the shadows to basically beat you. And what I mean by that is that you can't have a guy who they just basically, the Nets just signed, some cat from overseas, Mike James, right, to be your savior. I mean, not in a sense the savior for the Nets, but he came in and pretty much saved them from game one. And what I mean by that, he was out there being aggressive. He was playmaking. He was taking tough shots. Like, he was dictating pace at certain points in the game. Like, you can't allow that to happen for a guy who doesn't really have any experience in the playoffs at all. I mean, this is his first appearance ever, right? A guy that doesn't have a resume. But, he has skill, don't get me wrong. But, like, for him, you have Drew Holiday in the game that's guarding you, or you have Middleton that's in the game that's guarding you, or you have Jeff Teague in the game that's guarding you. You can't allow these situations to predict and pan out for the Bucks, because it's just not going to work out long term. And I think that, they're going to change up the game going into game two. All they have to do is just win one game in Brooklyn. That's all they got to really do. So even people were like, oh, my God, it's a blowout. I mean, they only lost by, less than 10 points. It was 115 to 107, I believe. Even though most of the game was lopsided in the second half, you have to understand that Milwaukee's job is to steal one game. Their job is not to basically sweep the Nets. That's not going to happen, right? And the Brooklyn Nets know that the Bucks are so good enough that they can win at least one game in Brooklyn, that they have to protect their home. So people are already going on Twitter. I already hear chats on Reddit that, oh, it's over. Yeah, it's over. Well, if that's the case, then, right? Kyrie shot terrible. I think he shot 6-4 or 12 for 26 or something like that. He shot terrible. KD shot terrible. Even though KD, I can look at the stats right now, KD gave you 29 points out of 40 minutes. Okay, he had 10 rebounds, which is pretty good for a guy that doesn't really rebound that well as far as beating the Brooklyn Nets. And if you look at Kyrie played 45 minutes and he had 25 points. That is terrible. He played 3 minutes shy from a full game. There's 48 minutes in the game. He played 45 minutes of it. So he hardly even rested in the game. That's how much of, not desperation, but they know that they cannot sit one of those guys for long term because James Harden is not in the game. What killed Milwaukee, in a sense, is Mike James, who played 30 minutes. And he played reasonably. The reason why he played 30 minutes because James Harden was gone. He gave you 12 points, 3 assists, 7 rebounds for a point guard, and an undersized point guard at that. So that is right there is a killer. And if you look at Joe Harris, you can't allow a guy to just scorch you from the perimeter. He had 19 points. And I think he had 3 threes, I believe, or so. You can't allow that. You can't allow these other guys. If KD and Kyrie go off, we know that's going to happen. Even though they had bad games, even though they had a bad shooting night, those guys they're just attacking. The ball movement was great in game one as far as in the Brooklyn Nets. The way they're passing the ball, finding the next open person was great. You cannot allow Joe Harris, Blake Griffin, Mike James to be the others to kill you. And I get it if you had others from the Milwaukee Bucks to do the same, but they didn't show up either. And to speak about Blake Griffin, I tip my hat off. People were sleeping on BG. Thought BG was washed. I was like, hey, even though the guy didn't play good in Detroit as far as this season, remember when he first came to Detroit? He had career numbers in Detroit. Career numbers. So to even see that Blake Griffin is giving you 18 points and 14 rebounds, I mean, that right there is just the underlinement. That's right there. That's what causes you to lose a game. And to speak about the Milwaukee Bucks itself, Giannis, who they're pretty much packing the paint, did not really allow him to drive. I mean, in the first half, they're just killing the Nets inside. They're attacking from all different angles, Then obviously the Nets figured out what to do second half and took that away from the Bucks. And then Bucks became nothing but like a perimeter shooting team. And Giannis had 34 points and 11 boards. That's great. LeBron, I mean, as far as Giannis, he can get his numbers the ugly way or the great way. What I mean by that is that he can score when he wants. If it's a tough night, he'll give you ugly numbers, meaning that he's forcing up a lot of shots. His efficiency level is pretty terrible, but he'll give you 30 points or so, whatever it is. But he'll give you other stats, like he'll give you rebounds, blocks, stuff like that. What kills you as far as Milwaukee is when the Kris Middleton, who I believe, and I've been saying this even last year in the bubble, even when Giannis got hurt against the Celtics, right, and then he left. Was it against the Miami Heat in Game 1 when he got hurt? Middleton is the factor, and he proved himself throughout the last couple of years that he is a guy. This team goes as far as Kris Middleton goes. No disrespect to Giannis. If Middleton's having a poor night, that puts so much pressure on Giannis to be impeccable, right? And not just Giannis. Everybody else has to come through as well, right? But you can't have slumps from Kris Middleton in your bench. Brian Forbes, who pretty much outscored Jimmy Butler in the first round, right? Outscored him. He had like 90+ points in the first round combined. He gives you 5 points on 22 minutes in the game. 5 points. Okay, that's terrible. And the guy was shooting the ball like he was Steph Curry, like he had the ultimate green light to do so. And I get it. He was busting these guys in the first round, but that's a different series, right? If you're not making your shots, you got to either be more creative or you got to go to the basket, mix it up a little bit. But I know you're a three-point specialist, and I know that's your DNA is to shoot the ball from the perimeter. But if you're not, if it's not going down for you, you got to figure out other ways to be effective, right? Another guy is Pat Connaughton. You play 20 minutes, you give 3 points? That's terrible. Bobby Portis plays 17 minutes to be the backup center or power forward behind Giannis, or Brook Lopez gives you 6 points, even though he gives effort. You have Jeff Teague who played 14 minutes, 14 lousy minutes, and gives you 2 points. That's terrible, right? And if you look at PJ Tucker, who I don't expect him to be, lavish and sexy as far as giving you points and all that. His job, his calling card is to do whatever he can to be the Jay Crowder of the Lakers and Suns series as far as being a pest and being in your skin, right? Being a defensive stopper, right? That's what they brought PJ Tucker in because they know that they need, a guy to contain a Jason Tatum in a sense or Kevin Durant in a sense, or even if they go to the NBA Finals and we're projecting to play against the Lakers or the Clippers, pre-season or of the season, to guard Kawhi or Paul George, PJ Tucker was, he's a guy that you can throw at those bodies. And PJ Tucker played 28 minutes and give you 7 points. Okay, I don't knock that because I don't expect him to be your catalyst to carry you. But Kris Middleton, yes. Kris Middleton, you're that guy. Kris Middleton, you had played terrible. I think he was like 6 for 23, I believe, from the field goal. And then I think you missed a couple free throws that were pretty much crucial in the fourth quarter. So Kris Middleton, to me, in my opinion, will have a better game too. Kris Middleton, as far as the Bucks, how far they want to go in the series and how deep they want to go in the series, if they want to have a chance to even pass the series and go into the Eastern Conference Finals, Kris Middleton would have to be your guy that you would have to hit your team on his shoulders. Giannis is going to get his points. I don't think BG can guard him. And I don't think Claxton can guard him. All right, even if Jeff Green comes back, he ain't guarding him. All right, and even KD ain't guarding him either. So you don't have nobody on the Brooklyn Nets that has an answer. Even though PG played good against Blake Griffin, Giannis had 34 points, and he dominated on the defensive side as well. Even though he didn't really guard PG, that was more of Brook Lopez's job, who's out there in the perimeter trying to flash out or hedge out to PG. So we'll see what happens in Game 2. I really expect, to me, I really believe the Bucks have a chance to steal Game 2. You understand? Game 1 was like a field kind of game for Milwaukee. All right, they sat the longest as far as, because they swept the Heat. Right, it just gone. Right, so they had 5-6 days off basically, and yeah, that plays a role into having some stuff that you have to shut off as far as getting back into shape, game shape, stuff like that, be competitive. Yeah, that does play a part of it. So we'll see what happens in game 2. And I expect Kris Middleton to be the guy to come out of the woodwork immediately. Like, come out there, start scorching, start getting his buckets, be more aggressive, post up. You got to understand, Middleton's going to be guarded most likely by Kyrie, in a sense, all right? Or Drew Holiday. I'm sorry, not Drew Holiday. Kyrie's going to be guarding either Middleton or Drew Holiday when they come to switches. Middleton will scorch Joe Harris. If Mike James is starting in game 2 because James Harden can't come back, Kyrie's going to be guarding Middleton. There's no guy. Joe Harris can't guard him, and Mike James can't guard him. So it depends what the Nets want to do, who they want to start. In my opinion, that's what's going to happen. I think Mike James will be the starter for game 2. Giannis, keep doing your thing. I think you played a good game. You did everything you can. But the game was pretty much gone from you in the late third quarter, going to the fourth quarter. You had guys missing shots, and I get it. It happens. But game 2 is going to be different. And then in the Nets, if those guys catch on fire and they're playing really good as far as efficiency and shooting up shots like KD and Kyrie, it's going to be a tough game for those guys in Milwaukee as far as trying to keep up. But being a defensive factor, I think they have a shot. Blake Griffin can't give you 18 points and 14 rebounds. That can happen. Rebounds, whatever, but like scoring-wise, he can't give you 4 3-pointers in the corners. He can't do that. All right? He can't be dunking on your team like that. That can't happen. So you got to eliminate that. You got to take away the Joe Harris situation. You can't allow him to be out there just roaming around, getting open shots up and stuff like that. So you take away those 2 factors, including Mike James, yeah, you have a shot, right? Let KD and Kyrie do their thing because there's no one player on the Bucks that can stop those guys. They can get their buckets at any cost, even though they both were in slumps in game 1. So there's a lot to see what's going to happen in game 2. And we'll be back. So when game 2, whatever happens in game 2, I'll be back with that. So we'll see. Until then, man, I hope y'all enjoyed your time. It was great having you on the show. And I got a lot of stuff to dive into. And I appreciate the love. Anytime y'all tune in, I really enjoy it. So if you have any comments, y'all can hit me up, man, at any time. Man, if you're new to the channel, like I said, if y'all been watching until this point, go ahead and subscribe. And go ahead and join the gang on this podcast. Appreciate the love. Y'all stay safe out there. Peace.